How hard has it been getting everybody dialed back in after an ACC championship and some time off?
Well, you know, as far as getting them dialed back in, I mean, these guys were ready to go. They were ready to get back. I know there was a lot of pep in our step yesterday, a lot of excitement to kind of get back out here as a team and to get going again. You know, obviously after a week off, you could definitely tell their conditioning wasn't quite nearly what it needed to be. So the last couple of days we kind of spent a lot of time doing some running, and that's good. They need that right now, but it was good to get them back out here.
Have you gotten everything signed business-wise for you?
Yes, yeah. Are you talking about our contract?
Yep.
Yes, yeah. We did that Monday morning. I was out all last week. I knew the details were being ironed out as far as that, but I know Coach Sweeney and Terry Don and myself, we got in. It was Monday morning. First thing Monday morning, we got all that done.
Not to pry, but now that your friend has become a head coach, you're now the nation's top-paid assistant. Does that come with a certain degree of, I don't know, humility, or just kind of talk about that?
Well, I don't know about all that. I mean, it just, you know, I'm very honored that our you know, this university has made a huge commitment, obviously, and there was a lot of things going on in the mix, but as far as what's been done here, I think it's, you know, it's a great time to be a Tiger, and you know, this university has definitely you know, made a huge commitment, and you got to respect that. And you know, we don't want to go anywhere. We're completely happy with Clemson, and you know, our family's excited to be here, and as well as I am.
Can you maybe say that you know, the really good news from your standpoint is you've only had 1 year to apply this thing, and that maybe second time around, especially with the extra bowl practice and the spring and all that, you know, your expectations would be even higher for output?
Well, I think they need to be. I know my expectations will be higher. You know, I think there's several areas. You know, you're 13 games into this offense and a spring ball. You've gotten about 70–75% of the offense in to a point, and then had to back off of it because we weren't mastering it. And so, you know, I think once we continue to get the puzzle pieces in place that fit this offense like we want them, you know, you'll see this offense begin to expand and continue to grow. So I'm excited about that. You know, there's a lot of areas we've got to address in the off season. We've got to, you know, and even right now, even moving forward today, I mean, this isn't, you know, everybody thinks you're going to come out to bowl practice and everybody slap each other on the back and be excited where you're at. I mean, that's the last thing that's happening right now. I mean, that's, you know, we've got to get tougher. We've got to get more mentally and physically tougher, and we've got 15 practices to do that. You know, I don't care what bowl we're in, we're going to win it. But we've got to come on some more than what we've done, and we got to get more. You know, again, we got to be more tougher in a lot of our areas.
Do you go back to the same launching point you used going into the championship game, or can you raise that a little more based on what you were able to accomplish in that game?
Well, I think you got a lot of momentum right now. You know, coming off the way we played in the championship game, but yet there was so much that we learned prior to the championship game, and how to deal with things, and how our players dealing with things, and not to overload them, because we're not there yet in that regard. So yes, we got to go back, and you know, I know that was the week of the championship game. I know that was one of the you know, Coach Sweeney really stressed that week of really being, you know, going back to our basics and throwing out things that don't work, and if they don't work, and that's both sides of the ball, that's special teams, and dialing back in and just doing our base stuff, and obviously getting guys back healthy was a key too. But we've just again, those are things that we've got to focus on the next 15–16 practices, and just going back to basics.
You seem to be able to deal with it effectively enough in that game, but not having a Mike Bellamy as your next option at running back right now leaves you a little vulnerable if something should happen to Andre early in this game. Where do you go from there?
Well, I mean, I think you've got to have them all ready to go. I think Taj has got to become part of this of the system. I think you saw that in the championship game. Taj ran the ball more effective than he has in the prior 4 weeks that he was running. And you know, when we were clicking early in the year, Taj was pulling the ball down on 3rd and 14 and picking up 15 yards, and that was something he's gotten away from. Really challenged him last week of running the football, and he's got, for this offense to roll and to click like it needs to click, we got to be able to run the football effectively. quarterback running it, running backs, whoever. We got to be able to involve the running game and get him involved in it.
Would DJ Howard, Rob McDowell be the guys that would be getting some more time in the bowl game with Mike out as well?
Well, yeah. I mean, those are the guys that will be backing him up. Again, you got to be able. You got to be creative in some areas. I think you saw Sammy running the ball quite a bit. You saw, Taj running the ball. You got to be creative. You got to be able to get take some pressure off of Andre. But I think DJ and would be the guy that comes in next, obviously, and then behind him would be Hot Rod. That's all we got. We got 3, and so we got to make the best of it.
Do you see a situation where maybe Sammy, and I know at times this year you'd move him into the backfield and whatever, could he become almost not 50-50, but more of a running back, quote unquote, for you?
Yeah, I think you got to involve Sammy in the running game, and I think we've done that this year to take some pressure off of our running backs, and especially when Andre was out and Andre was hurt, we were trying to incorporate Sammy a lot in it, but so yeah, he's got to be a threat.
And in the future, even as you get through spring, and maybe you've thought about it driving home at night, how you can have some design.
Well, we're going to have some guys coming in January, and we're in need of a running back right now. And with Andre coming, getting back to being healthy, and we hope Andre comes back next year and feel like he will. But we're in need of a running back. There's no question about it.
How was Sammy doing mentally after a little bit of controversy that surrounded him early this week?
Well, I think Sammy's doing great. I mean, he had a great 2 days of great practice. I don't know how he got all linked in with all that, but I think it's behind us now, and he's. I think they've addressed it before it really got to be really big and to where it could put anybody in jeopardy. So I think everything's fine in that regard.
You have some young guys on the offensive line that didn't play a lot this year, but will be counted on to carry the load next year. How do you get them involved in these 15, 16 practices?
Well, Coach does a good job of setting up some time for our younger kids to get a lot of good reps, and that's something we focused on, and they've gotten a lot of reps this year in practice. But these guys have got to come on. They got to use these 15 days, extra 15 practices plus the practices we had 2 weeks ago for the championship of trying to take it almost as another spring ball. So you're almost going to get 2 full springs out of them. And they got to understand, the importance of them to be able to come on and be developed and get their technique right. And again, it's something that's a huge concern. We've got to get these guys going on it.
Who do you see 2 or 3 of those guys that you think could step in and play a big role next year, whether they played this year or not?
Well, you got to hope that Kalon would come on, but Kalon's got to become more physical, and there's several others. I mean, it's hard to mention all of them right now, and which ones, because right now I couldn't tell you. I mean, I think if I start mentioning names, they may think they're starters or something and not work, and I can promise you that I will not be their best friend. It ain't happening. So we've got that's an area that we're addressing, and with these young guys, and they've got to know right now the importance that hey, they got to use these 15 practices plus spring ball to get themselves ready to go.
Can you talk about not being somebody's best friend? I know Phillip has that mentality. Can you talk about what he's meant to your offensive line this year?
Well, that guy is an anchor in that offensive line. I mean, that guy is he's what you're after. He and Dalton and Lannon, those guys have kind of anchored that front up there. But Phillip has meant so much to us because of where he came from and having to walk on and earn everything that he got. And when nobody gave him a chance, he battled through it. And I think that showed so much about him and his drive and his character that, man, you got to love a guy that doesn't wear shoes and you have to tell him to put a shirt on and he just, I don't know, he may not even take a bath. And so you got to love a guy like that because that's what you want in your offense. So you want guys that are mean, they're rugged, and they just don't care. And that's what we got to get. We got to get that's our focus. And Lannon and Dalton, and those 3 guys right there have anchored us up front. But we got to get some guys a lot more tougher than where we are right now. And that's my job. And that's what I'm going to do. And from a mental standpoint, from a physical standpoint, from the weight room to the conditioning, everything, we got to become more. We got to be more mentally tough in that regard to be able to run the football effectively.
Just for the record, have you had to explain personal hygiene to him?
I don't know if we
I've had time to put shoes on.
Yeah.
But you gotta love it. I love him.
I don't know if we've exhausted it or not, but Dwayne and Sammy were named first team AP All-America today. Just two more awards to two guys that you probably couldn't have survived without this year.
Well, there's no doubt, but I think that's a credit to all those offensive players. I mean, without our guys up front, without Taj, without the help of Andre and those other guys, that wouldn't have been possible. And I think they would be the first one to tell you, how much that's a team award. But for Dwayne and for Sammy to achieve an honor of being an All-American, I mean, it's, I just found out as I walked off the field, and I think that's a huge accomplishment for them and for this program and for this university. So when you go out and you recruit and you can say, hey, we produce All-Americans, and here's living proof of it right here, and we put two out there. So I'm excited for them. I'm excited for the direction of this program and what we got to look forward to and the challenges ahead. People look at challenges and want to crawl in a hole. I look at challenges and, man, I'm ready to stand on the table and let's go to work on it. And that's what excites me about it.
Would you be surprised if Dwayne decided to come back next year?
Would I be surprised? Absolutely not, because Dwayne is motivated by how can he help, what can he do to make things better, and it's not going to surprise me either way. I've talked with him. I've shared, from my selfish standpoint, what I want. And I want him to come back because I know what kind of a player he could be. But I go back to the first meeting that I had with him, and him sitting in there and raising his hand and saying, Coach, do you use a tight end, and how will I be used? And my response is, I said, if you'll trust me, we'll make you the most versatile player in the country. And I reminded him that today when I met with him. He and I met one-on-one and talked, and he just laughed. And he said, yeah, Coach, you're right. And I said, well, did I lie? And he said, no. And so I hope he does what's best for him, and but I also hope what he does best for this university too, and we'd love to have him back.
Sammy, the other day, one of the ESPN analysts suggested that Sammy could be the next Heisman Trophy winner. Is that just being a little over the top, or do you see that as realistic?
Well, I mean, if that works out, that's great, and I, we'll be happy, and everybody will be excited to be in New York City. I want Sammy to be here to win a national championship. That needs to be our goal, and all that other stuff, all those other accolades will come with that, and I think that he brings that to the table. Him, with Dwayne and Andre and Taj, and getting the right puzzle pieces in place. I think that's realistic. And as you start looking and growing and expanding on the accomplishments that we've done this year.
What have you seen out of West Virginia's defense after getting a chance to work with them on tape?
Well, they're very, very fast. They run exceptionally well. They run a 3-3-5 defense, and they got one of the better pass defenses in the country. I think they're ranked 15th in the country. A lot of that has the fact because they disguise a lot of things that they do with their 3-3 stack look. They'll rush 3 and drop 8 a lot, and we got to be able to be able to do some things. We got to be able to run the football, and you got to be able to attack some different areas in that regard. The one thing about a 3-3-5, I mean, that's what we ran at Tulsa. And that's what we're working with Coach Graham. He was at West Virginia with them all those years, and so going against a 3-3-5, I've done that from getting there at Tulsa and have seen that, and so it's a little different in some regards, but they run really well. They're not really big, but man, their linebackers play so aggressive and they're down the hill when they play, and they do a good job of disguising their coverages. They're very well coached.
Have you been able to prepare off any film that they have faced an offense that does anything similar to you guys? Yeah,
there's been several. I know that obviously Pitt ran something similar. Cincinnati runs something similar. I mean, there's several that they've had to go against this year that have a lot of similarities in it.
Personal aside, so are you surprised that Coach Malzahn went to Arkansas State?
Well, I knew that obviously his goal was to be a head coach, and I'm excited for him and Christy and the girls, and that he's able to achieve that dream of being a head coach and to be back in his home state. I think that intrigued him more than anything. The opportunity to go back to his home state, to recruit that area that he's well known, and be able to pick up the players that maybe those that they all can't go to the University of Arkansas. So those that they don't lose out of that state will come to him, and I think that you'll see him really recruit that area really hard, and his high school background and knowledge, and I'm excited for him.
And Coach Graham to Arizona State?
I just found that out as I walked out here. And haven't talked to Coach Graham outside of he tried to call a couple days ago, and that was it. And he and I were like I said, I hadn't talked to him, but I didn't know. When I found that out, it kind of surprised me. But good for him and Penny and their family. If that's what that's what he was wanting, and I'm excited for him.